You ever have one of those nights where you realize the only thing separating your peace and chaos is a $12 doorbell camera and the stupidity of your enemy? Yeah, that was me, sitting there in my boxers at 2 in the morning, watching Lydia Blackthorne, barefoot, mascara streaked down her face, stinking of champagne and rage, scream into my Ring cam. Sign the property transfer or your body will be feeding the fish by sunrise. You know what I mean? Some threats sound so over the top you have to laugh, even when the person saying them is deadly serious. The craziest part? She was screaming about a fake deed, not knowing it was signed by President Theodore Roosevelt in 1907. She claimed she owned this lake, that she owned every dock, and even me. The only thing she really owned was a bad temper and a pile of secrets the FBI was about to rip wide open. See, I just moved here, figuring my undercover days were done. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could find some peace at Wayward Point Lodge, a payment from Uncle Sam for taking down the biggest maritime smuggling ring in U.S. history. The place was both gorgeous and haunted, like most things left too long to the elements and worse people. 5 acres of Michigan waterfront, a lodge you could shell with a cannon and barely scratch, and a marina built for drug lords, not retirees. What Lydia didn't know, what almost nobody knew, was that this lodge came with a submarine dock 30 feet underwater, built by the Navy, forgotten by most, but used for decades by cartel boats running coke in from Canada. Yeah, I'd seen things here that would curl your toes. But let me back up a sec. Tuesday, October 23rd, 11:47 a.m. First time I held the key to this place. That key was heavier than it looked. 15 years of undercover work, 3 bullet scars, more fake names than I can count. The leaves were dying, the air was sharp, and I could smell trouble long before Lydia showed up. Diesel fuel, cold sweat, not a single boat in sight, but danger anyway. Name's Garrison Cross, though the cartels called me Al Phantasma, the ghost. The feds called me Asset 7. But here, I was just the new guy with a reward property nobody else wanted because they didn't know what it really was. I was barely finished with my coffee when a convoy of black SUVs ground up my drive. Out stepped Lydia, 56 years old, dripping with privilege, diamonds, and that icy tone only people who've never been told no can muster. Her bodyguards looked like they'd won the CrossFit lottery, but wouldn't last a minute in a real fight. She started barking about trespassing, the HOA, all that jazz, trying to run the intimidation script, hands on empty holsters, threatening hell if I didn't sign. But here's the kicker. I had the real deed. Federal transfer, signed 2 weeks before. This place wasn't just seized from criminals. It was mine under witness protection. She laughed like breaking glass. I watched her face, saw the panic under all that Botox when I mentioned the Monterey cartel, her husband's old client. She tried to hide it with threats, perfume thick as chemical warfare. Claimed her HOA charter from 1887 overruled the feds, told me I'd never win. Lady, you just cited the law that makes me your landlord. Her husband Harrison slithered out next, slick, silver-haired, Tom Ford suit. He tried the smooth lawyer routine, but I saw the killer behind the smile. Called him out by his cartel nickname, El Abogado del Diablo, the devil's advocate. He cracked, for just a second, then tried to threaten me with lawsuits, flicked a business card at my feet like it meant something. Get in line, I told him. I've been threatened by people who bury bodies for breakfast. I knew they'd be back. People like the Blackthorns don't accept defeat, they just look for new angles. By sunset, the property felt less like a reward and more like a battlefront. The next few days were an education in HOA harassment. Cease and desist letters glued so hard to my door they stripped the paint. Bogus inspectors with shaky hands and threats in their eyes. Fake environmental hazard complaints. Yellow crime tape on my dock that didn't even bother pretending to be official. Every move they made just proved they were desperate. One of the county inspectors, Jeremy, finally admitted someone had paid him $10,000 in cash to find something. I asked him what he'd report. The truth, he said, because I'm 6 months from retirement, and I'm sick of rich people thinking laws don't apply. He left me his cell number, just in case I needed a witness. But the real twist came from Captain Roy Morrison, 70, Vietnam vet, sharp as a tack. He told me, plain as day, the feds didn't give you this place as a reward. It's bait, and the fish are already circling. That's when I started digging in the lodge, literally. Behind a fake bookshelf, I found a basement that reeked of old paper and old fear. There, under layers of dust, I found the deed, Roosevelt's signature, rights to every submerged inch of the lake. And more, records showing the HOA had been paying the cartel for lake access for decades. Wire transfers, coded memos, photos of Lydia at parties with men now serving life. But the kicker? Lydia herself was the financial mastermind, running millions through offshore accounts every time a submarine docked. I called my old FBI handler. "We missed one," I said. He laughed, darkly. "That's why they want you gone, Garrison. You enforce those rights, the whole lake collapses. Be careful. Cornered money is dangerous." The harassment ramped up. More inspectors, more bogus complaints, even offers of cash to look the other way. I prepped my legal response, hit them back with every scrap of evidence I had. That's when Lydia broke down, drunk, barefoot, mascara smeared, confessing to murder and cartel ties into my doorbell cam. Threatened me, threatened to bury me, like she'd buried men before. What she didn't know, every second was uploaded to the cloud, time-stamped, and ready for court. And then came the showdown. Emergency HOA meeting, 217 homeowners, all packed into the yacht club Lydia had funded with laundered cartel money. She strutted to the podium with a PowerPoint full of lies, claiming my deed was fake, the transfer fraudulent. I let her dig her own grave before I walked in. Old court suit, briefcase loaded with originals. When I put Roosevelt's deed under the projector, the crowd's panic was almost musical. I laid out the documents. Not just mine, but the HOA's own records, payments to the cartel, the whole lake built on someone else's land. Lydia cracked. "Those are forgeries," she screamed. I showed the room her own signatures, her own wire transfers, then played the 4K video of her death threats and confessions. The FBI kicked in the doors mid-meeting. Arrests, agents everywhere, lawyers on the phone before the cuffs even clicked. Harrison tried to run, got tackled into a dessert table, blood and mousse mixing on his $8,000 suit. Agents announced warrants for 17 more properties. The entire room froze. Half of them knew they were next. The fallout was biblical. Senator Blackthorne went on TV denying everything, but the photos of him drinking with cartel bosses ended his career by sundown. The marina, yacht club, even the community center, all funded by blood money, all seized. My deed held up in court, 3 federal judges confirming every word. Over 200 properties lost legal lake access overnight. Panic, lawsuits, RVs full of lawyers lined up on the road. But I didn't want to punish the innocents, just the guilty. At the next community meeting, I offered permanent easements, 99 years, fair rates, money going to restore the lake and support families of agents killed by the cartel. On one condition, the HOA was dissolved forever. They agreed before I even finished talking. 6 months later, the submarine dock was a museum. The water ran clear, and the local economy was booming. Lydia got 25 years, Harrison got 30, and didn't live to see half of it. The new community board was run by Captain Morrison, with his daughter Rebecca, my lawyer, now my wife, helping rebuild for real. Our wedding was on the dock where Lydia threatened me, just to make the point. The judge at Lydia's sentencing summed it up. The only victim here is justice for having to wait this long to be served. Some mornings, I fish off my dock while Rebecca brings coffee and our daughter Patricia toddles around in her life vest. Tourists ask if the stories are true. Did an HOA president really try to steal my house? Did she confess to murder on a ring cam? Did I really own the bottom of the lake? I just smile and cast my line. Some stories are better left a little unbelievable. But here's the part one want to leave you with. What would you have done in my place? Would you start charging back rent to the same people trying to evict you? Or wait for the perfect moment to turn the tables? Drop a comment. NT, share your take on justice, community, and what happens when the little guy finally gets to play by the real rules. Because sometimes, enforcing the law isn't just revenge. It's the start of something better than anyone expected.